Well, hey guys, this is a new segment that I like to call My First Time. We kind of share our dirty secrets about our first time growing and what we've changed since then. I want to talk to proven growers, people who've been doing it for a while, because then we could see the difference between where they are now and where they started off and what their mindset was, their practices. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome today's guest, Chad Westport. Chad, how you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing pretty awesome. Thank you for having me. This is a great question. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, so we've thought about it for a second. I'm sure since I asked you a few days ago, like,
Yeah.
yeah, tell me all about your first time. What was it like? What were you doing?
Yeah. So my very first time was actually in my late teens. Um, I had no grow knowledge. I had never seen a growing plant, didn't know anybody who grew, but I had a seed. And we had one of those like displays from the 7-Eleven or whatever. You remember like the Evian bottles, like the big bottles, and it'd have the hole
Oh
in the middle
yeah,
and you reach in and it has the ice and you grab your
yeah,
bottle out.
yeah. One of those upward, yeah, those tubs, yeah.
Yeah. So way before like Star 69, caller ID, and video cameras everywhere, we used to like to take stuff a lot, borrow it, as we would call it. And one time we borrowed one of these from a back of a 7-Eleven. And so we just had it in our apartment, me and a couple dudes, and we should grow some weed in here, man. So we put some dirt in the bottom, put a seed in, and just hang a little light bulb. That was all we knew how to do. I'm surprised it germinated, but it did germinate. It came up. It got probably 2 or 3 nodes in, I don't know, maybe a month or something. And we didn't see anything
Right,
that looked like bud. So we're just
right,
like, whatever,
yeah.
tossed it
And you
out.
already kind of knew that plants grow slow, right? So your expectations were like, oh, it's supposed to happen slow, right?
I didn't even know that much, man. That was the point where I like had killed a cactus. I had killed a cactus in between that point and then when I actually really started to grow for the first time.
uh, so that's funny. Was your first grow your first harvest?
Not that time, but
Yeah.
yes, so you fast forward, some years, and yes, I took it a little bit more seriously. I had a little bit of previous knowledge, and yeah, my first one, I had collected bag seeds, as most people do. I decided I'm going to do it, planted some bag seeds, and I did. I got to harvest. I have what I would call beginner's luck. I did not face a problem until probably my fifth or sixth run. Like it was just too easy. And then you try to get complicated and, well, your life gets complicated.
Right. So you say get complicated. Like, what do you mean? Like listening to others, all sorts of various advices, or get deeper into the science, or
Yep.
how do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, more just, as they say, trying to play God, more trying to control it. It's like the more I knew, the more I wanted to tinker. But what I didn't understand at that time was you need patience and you can't change a whole bunch of things in one run and expect to get any tangible results of whether that or something else helped. So yeah, I started just doing all the stuff that I heard online and I did too much.
Right. So if we rewind back to like when you had that tub from the 7-Eleven, what did you put in there? Did you get some garden dirt? What did you dig something up in the backyard? What went in there? You think?
Dude, that's a good question. Like, we probably dug the dirt up from somewhere, or somebody had a bag. Like, we did not even know anything about anything at that point. So, yeah, I
Sure.
wouldn't be surprised if we dug it out of the backyard.
I'm curious, like, because that's like, I think everyone has had their experimentation phases. A lot of people are coming into this now and it's very legitimate and very legal in a lot
Mhm.
of places. And so there's not sort of these like dark shadows of doubt or unknowing. We're not, you and I, we're no spring chickens anymore, So we harken back to a time when like, yeah, that was kind of experimentation. But
Yeah.
you and your friends, when you came up with the idea, like, what did you think you were going to get? I'm curious. Like, what
Y- that's one of those weird things. It's like if you've been smoking like cannabis for a long time, but you've never actually seen a plant or seen how it grows,
uh-huh.
it's hard to know what to really expect. I remember walking into a big flower grow room for the first time, and I was like, "That's what it looks like." Oh, you gotta, trim all the and all that stuff. But yeah, we kind of expected it to grow buds, I guess.
Yeah.
We were young
Yeah.
and dumb.
Sure. Again, like, misguided, naive experimentation. Clearly, it's MacGyver. I remember
Yes.
doing a lot of MacGyver things surrounding cannabis and those sorts of things. Come up with a bong, come up with a pipe, come up with a this, that, or the other. What do I have?
Yeah. Well, speaking of MacGyver, and back to that very first grow, after we got rid of, and actually maybe this was why we got rid of it. So it had the middle section where you'd put the ice in the water and you'd stuff, the Evian bottles so customers could pull them out. We knocked that out and we
Mm.
turned that into a personal clam bake chamber. So you could actually get inside, you'd put the top back on and we put a pillow over the hole and you just sit in that bottle and you just smoke and smoke. So that's what we MacGyvered with my very first container.
It's good to see it had multiple uses.
There is video of that out there. It's
So
great.
if we could very quickly then, like, let's jump from the experimentation
Yeah,
phase back to like kind of where you started growing legitimately.
yeah.
What was your motivation when you planted, your next round of seeds, when you got into it? Was it seeds, clones?
It
How
was
did you find in?
bag
Yeah.
seeds. Yep,
All
bag
right. Yeah.
seeds and just stuff that I collected. And it was more of an economic thing, really,
Right.
to me at that point. Like I was by myself. I had a house. I had the extra closets that I could do this in, and I wanted to give it a shot. Like I wasn't really too worried about getting in trouble because I was staying discreet and doing it for myself. So
Mhm.
that was kind of why I wanted to do it. I was spending too much money on it, really.
How did you do discrete? What was your version of discrete?
Well, I didn't really understand carbon filters at that time. So just, discreet, like I've been to people's houses where you're like obvious. They've got like boards up over the window so no light comes out. And yeah, I wasn't. It just looked like a normal house. Didn't look like a grow house. Sometimes you can spot those.
You so you planted one, you started with one, you started with a couple. What was your tent like? What a tent, I say tents are a new thing, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, tents weren't even
Kind
a
of,
thing.
yeah.
This was
Yeah.
literal closet grow. That's why they're
Sure.
called
Yeah.
closet grows.
Dude, this struggle is real, man.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I planted. I think I had about 5 plants, and I'm trying to think back on it now because I didn't really understand. I don't think I grasped sex either at that point. And they
Okay,
were
right.
all bag
Yeah.
seeds, so maybe
Yeah.
they were just all kind of, like from a herm because I want to say they were all female. So yeah, I
Wow,
had about five
lucky. Very
plants.
lucky. Right. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, maybe from a herm for that to be the case. I mean, 5 out of
Yeah.
5. Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any preconceived notion about what a marijuana plant should look like then when you got started with those 5 plants then? You didn't really harvest the teenage round, so without the experience to draw on, what did your plant look like? What did your plants look like?
They I didn't understand anything about training either, so they just kind of grew natural. They looked like a Christmas tree,
Christmas trees, right?
big long stalk. But satellite branches, but they didn't get overly heavy with buds and they weren't overly large because I was growing with CFLs. So they
Right.
really kind of supported themselves. The bud was wispy. There were three kinds. As brown, green, blue, and then later I popped more and called them red. I was just giving
Right.
colors to bag seeds. Um, but the blue turned out to have like massive, like just impressive colas. Again, my main beginner's luck. I thought I was just great at what I was doing, but beginner's luck.
Right. Well, you must have been using something around the right amount of light. You said it was a little thin and wispy, but there's a lot of things that contribute to that. But
Yeah.
tall is also maybe like a feature of not enough light. But if you finish and you have something to speak of, you must have used something close to, not the most wrong amount of light. Today you give advice, you teach people kind of your methods, you not just teach, but you sort of showcase what you're doing, and you talk through it along the way. And clearly you've given so much information to, like, modern breeders, people in the cultivation community all over the states, and I imagine all over the world. So let's just hop in our little time machine. We're going to go back, right? You said what, maybe 2011 was the sort of the first foray into, and that's the direct line between then and now, right? You went for since then and you've been growing since. So what is you today, what is the
Mhm.
advice that you give to that grower then, If you walked in the closet and you were like, "Hey, before you make this mistake," or, yeah,
Yeah.
is that fair?
Grow tents exist,
All
one,
right.
because for
Okay.
many years I was building out false walls and building rooms.
Right.
Um,
Why is the tent thing important? Is that environmental control or what is that to you?
just like portability,
Right.
costs. You can take it up, take it down if you need to, really easily. It
Okay.
has the reflective walls. It has your exhaust ports. It just makes it a lot easier than building something, which, well,
Right. Yeah.
depends
Ready
on
made.
permanent structure. But yeah,
Purpose built too,
there you
not
go.
custom, but purpose built. All right. So tents are a thing. You're gonna say, hey, get a tent.
Yep,
What
tents are a
else?
thing. Gosh, I mean, keeping it simple. I kind of kept it simple then, and I've gone through a lot, and I kind of keep it simple now. Um, Man, that's a great question because I
Well,
don't
how
know.
about this? Were there
I'm
were
sorry.
what would have been some obvious hurdles to you then, like information that wasn't there, that if you had Chad now, like what would
Right.
have been some of the problems that you were concerned with? You saw your first grow, then you went in your second, you were hoping for what? Improvement, right? You're gonna use the
Mhm.
information from last time, do a little better, and now you got it dialed in. But what was first run Chad worried about in his garden? What were you concerned about?
Well, I started off wanting to just see how the plants grew naturally. So I wasn't focused on feeding. I wasn't focused on much of anything other than just kind of like watering and watching it grow.
Was there
Um,
feeding?
Very light, if any.
All right,
So
so you
yeah, a
went and
lot
got
of
some
it was
nutrients, or okay, all right,
Fox Farm soil, because that's what I saw. I didn't know the name, but I knew the color of the bag and I knew the picture of it. So when I actually went to a store, that's the one I picked up. um, yeah.
so besides the obvious in that you've gotten exponentially better since then, like what's the difference between Chad's grow then and Chad's grow now? What are you focused on? What do you worry about now?
Dialing in those little parameters. I mean, VPD is one of those. Actually, just knowing what humidity levels to have, what temperatures to have. And it's changed, with HPS back then, you want to run a different temperature than LED now in your room.
Oh
So
yeah, big
there
difference, right?
those
Yeah.
little details, and I'm able to, kind of like give it a direction more than just be happy with what I got. Before I was just happy with whatever I got. If I made it to harvest, which I did, cool, that is what it is. Now, there's certain things. Sometimes you want to try to bring out expressions of terpenes a
Yeah.
little bit more, or you're looking for trichome production. So I have a lot more options these days to control the grow a little bit tighter, I guess.
Right. And if you knew all that stuff on your first grow, do you think that would have even been useful? Like you kind of get, I know me, I got equipment along the way, you justify this and you're like, all right, well, I've spent 300 extra dollars on this grow. And then next one, you get some income. Oh, I justify that. And I just spent, another $900 on the next setup, or, oh, I'm going to change the system, or, oh, I'm going to rearrange the room, or, oh, now I got to finally get a tent. I picked up
Yep.
equipment along the way. Right.
Right.
Similar, would that have even been useful to you? Were you even interested in those things back then?
If I would have known about them, yes, I would have been interested in them, but I'm glad that I went the way that I did because I didn't have there wasn't the internet. You were still afraid to go onto any like cannabis website at that point. Like you're like they're going to get my IP,
Yeah,
they'll know.
this
Like
guy.
you didn't
Yeah,
even do that.
yeah,
So it was kind of just talking to people. If you can find somebody now, I'd always smoked, and it's the Pacific Northwest, so there were some people that I get some information from, but not the OG. I never had that tutor or, that I was never the apprentice, which I
gotcha.
wish I would have
Yeah,
had that opportunity.
right, right. Um, so then, is it learning through trial and error and the experience then, since then, or have there been significant influences in your education and the development of you as a grower?
There has been. There's, a lot of, I say I had beginner's luck, and I was just kind of doing what I was doing without really knowing the why behind it. why I may have had success in those circumstances, and why, after that fifth run, why I had problems. And that's the difference really between then and now. Back then, I was just kind of going for it. I kind of knew what worked. And there's some growers out there who, they always say, we just follow a formula. If all you're doing is following the formula, you don't necessarily know the mechanics behind it. So if something
Right.
in that like breaks down, you have no reference of like where to start, troubleshoot from point A to point B. Where is the problem? Is it in the middle
What went
here?
wrong? What
Yeah.
went wrong? That simple question. What went wrong? Not what I
Yeah.
think was wrong, what actually went wrong.
The why.
How do you,
And
yeah.
like you may have a lockout of phosphorus. Okay, well, you've identified the
Mm,
deficiency. Congratulations, you treat it. Why? Why were you short on phosphorus? Because until you understand the why you were short
yes.
on it, you're going to keep hitting that wall. So the
Yeah.
why is very important, and that's
Or
the
yeah,
difference.
you might believe in some sort of mumbo jumbo, like it is always that at this time I am short on phosphorus, and unless you're magically consistent, that's probably not going to be the case of the when of it. It's like you said, the why. So we took you and we put you in the time machine. We took you back to talk to First Grow Chad. How about this? Let's talk to people in the present and the future about their first grow. Um, what would you impart? Are you have any simple basics, some sort of easy mindsets, any assurance or sooth that you could say to the future first time grower?
Yeah, and I mean it's a little cliche. We hear it a lot, KISS, keep it simple. But what does that actually mean? How do you keep it simple? So, for me, at first, and I still do this with when I grow a new seed out, the first time I grow a seed or a new plant, I don't train it. I want to see how the plant wants to grow naturally. I want to see what it wants to do. Now, with my experience from there, the next round, I can do whatever training is needed to maximize to take advantage of those patterns. So yeah, let your plant just kind of grow, study the plant, learn the plant. At the same time with feeding, either do follow a formula, keep it simple that way, or get like a water only soil so you can focus
Mm,
on the plant. Again, get
right,
familiar
right.
with it. Look how and especially if you start with like a fox farm, it has a little bit of a charge in it, but it's not going to take you all the way. So when those bottom leaves start to yellow, why? Oh, that means nitrogen is translocating to the top. It's a mobile nutrient. Those
Mm,
are like
yeah.
two rabbit holes you could dive down right there. So I almost just say don't try to build the Ferrari the first time. Get familiar with the frame because then you'll be able to manipulate it and take advantage of it later.
Well, look, you've been a big help to me, and you help a lot of people. You recently taught me how to not kill most of my seedlings, and I've been growing for almost
Yes.
9 years, maybe 9 years now. Mostly a clone guy. I feel
Yeah.
like I might have. I have to repeat the success a couple times before I know that I'm in the clear. But so far, it's been 100% turnaround. I couldn't have done that
Nice.
without you. Where do we find you over there on the other end of the interwebs?
Yeah, well, thank you. So Instagram, it's chad.westport. I do have a website, chadwestport.com, but on YouTube, which is commonly where I am, I have the Chad Westport YouTube channel, and then also over on the Future Cannabis Project channel. And if you like
That's right.
cannabis history, check out Dope History, dopehistory.com.
Oh, fantastic show, dopehistory.com. And if you make your way over to the Future Cannabis Project, make sure you hit up both channels, hit the notification bells, hit
Thanks.
Chad's notification bell. Otherwise, you're not going to catch the live stuff. And I've seen that you've launched, what is it you call it? The nearly the best grow
The
show,
the
the
best grow
the
show.
pretty reasonable grow show, or the
Right? It's a grow show.
well, I've seen 9 out of 10 dentists and 9 out of 10 zoo animals approved and thought it was the best grow show. So something needs to
So
be
far.
said about the credibility of those zoo doctors, zoo dentists.
Yes. So far so good. I have to go out and pull 10 more people before the next show. So we'll see who I talk to this time.
What's your favorite episode looking back of the dope history?
Ooh, Wolf Siegel, because we ran the exact same streets, just about 30 years removed,
Oh
which
yeah,
is cool.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hard to pick, but that one has the most personal connection.
Fantastic. Hey guys, you really do got to check this out. It's really been a big thing. He went all over and talked to all sorts of people, icons, titans in the industry, and kind of helping to tell the story through people's firsthand accounts of how cannabis has permeated culture and become what you guys know it today. You get to watch us today. Thank you very much, Chad, for coming by. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about Chad's first time. Next
Thank
time,
you.
I'll tell you about my first time. Episode 2. Check it out 2 weeks from now. Thanks, Chad.
See you later, guys.